Hello, True Health Seeker, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Learn True Health podcast. I have a wonderful guest for you today. KJ Landis is a fantastic author and health expert who's dedicated her life to teaching those how to get to the root cause and lose those extra pounds that have been bugging them their whole life, and finally make those lifestyle changes that nourish their body and support them to stay at a healthy weight no matter what age they are. KJ has a beautiful story, and she shares it today along with some fantastic tools that we could all use in our tool belt of health. Her newest book, Happy, Healthy You, Your Total Wellness Toolkit for Renewing Body, Soul, and Mind, is coming out later in August, and you can pre-order it right now on Amazon. I have the link to that in the show notes of today's podcast. I'd love for you to go buy it right now. When you pre-order it, it is on a sale, and I think it's a fantastic price. It's only $10 on paperback and $5 for Kindle. It's going to go up a little bit once the book is released, but I highly recommend getting it because she has so many fantastic tools to share, and what an amazing story. I know you'll love learning from her today. She has a great heart and a great spirit. One thing she does as a San Francisco Bay resident to give back to the community, she goes to the library, local libraries, and to senior centers and gives free health talks. She shares a bit about that in our episode. If you have any friends that live in or near San Francisco, definitely share this episode with them, because man, the things that she teaches, I know that you would love and your friends would love to go and learn from her in person. Now, definitely go check out her book, and the link is in the show notes of today's podcast, because she shared with me the manuscript before we did our interview. And it's a fantastic book, just filled with wonderful lessons for really getting to the root cause and shedding those pounds in a healthy way. When we really make a shift, a permanent lifestyle shift, our body responds. And if we do so, that is in alignment with what our body needs, our body just comes right into alignment. It sheds those pounds, it detoxes, it gains the immune system, it sheds disease. That's what happens when we live a lifestyle, a diet, supplements, exercise, all of that our body needs. You know, you might do spin classes and feel horrible after, whereas some people will do a spin class and feel amazing. That's because we're not meant to plug ourselves into just any program that works for someone else. We have to figure out what works for us. And KJ is wonderful at teaching how we can figure out and dial in what we need. The wellness toolkit that she gives for renewing your body, soul, and mind so that you can achieve your health goals. Enjoy today's interview, and please, if you get something out of today's interview, please pass it along. You can leave that little tip in my virtual tip jar by continuing to share the podcast with those you love so we can spread this information and help as many people as possible. Have a fantastic day and enjoy today's show. Are you looking to optimize your health? Are you looking to get the best supplements at the lowest price? For high quality supplements and to talk to someone about what supplements are best for you, go to takeyoursupplements.com, and one of our fantastic True Health coaches will help you pick out the right supplements for you that are the highest quality and the best price. That's takeyoursupplements.com. takeyoursupplements.com. That's takeyoursupplements.com. Be sure to ask about free shipping and our awesome referral program. Welcome to the Learn True Health podcast. I'm your host, Ashley James. This is episode 157. Boy, oh boy, are we in for such a treat today. Our guest is KJ Landis, and she is, boy, does she have a plethora of accomplishments in terms of being a health nut. And I say that with pride. I wear that badge of honor, a health nut. But KJ, you have really dedicated your life to helping people discover that they can heal their body, that it is possible. Those who are sick and suffering needlessly no longer need to suffer. There is a way through holistic medicine through all this wonderful research. And you are definitely science based. I look at your website, which has like a list of 30 different certifications, and you are definitely a knowledge junkie like myself. But what I love is that you have a passion for teaching people and helping them to discover the power within inside themselves to heal. So today, our listeners get to have that treat to learn from you. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you kindly. I'm very happy to be with you.
Wonderful. Now, I found out that you are also a listener of the show, which is so cool. I love it when I hear that other holistic health practitioners listen to the Learn Your Health podcast and share it and spread this information, because we're all together in this mission. We're all in the same army, helping to spread the holistic message that the body has the ability to heal itself. So it truly is a pleasure to have you here today. I'd love for
Thank
you
you.
to start by sharing your story. Please, I know you have a beautiful story. I'd love for you to share it with our listeners.
Of course. When I was a child, I was obese, and that obesity resulted from my body trying to stuff itself. Was stuffing down the feelings and the feeling of badness because I was molested by relatives from age 7 through 12. And when I was bat mitzvah at age 12, I am considered responsible for my own good deeds and bad deeds in the holy community. So that's when I said to my perpetrators, no more. And at that point, I was able to not only shed my pounds, but shed my pounds of pain simultaneously. Afterwards, when I became an adult, I was working in the Hilton Hotel in San Francisco. And over a period of 15 years, I had gained 50 pounds. And once again, I wasn't dealing with what was going on inside of me. I was stuffing the feelings of less than with food, because food doesn't talk back and food doesn't insult me. So at about age 46, I decided I wanted to have a liposuction. And my husband said to me, that's not going to fix anything. You have to do the deep work. You have to change your habits forever. Otherwise, the weight will just come back. And he was right. It was hard to hear, but being my confidant for 28 years, he was right. So within a matter of months, I did a lot of research and I canceled the liposuction and I went on a hormone therapy called HCG. And within 60 days, I lost 50 pounds healthfully. And after I lost the weight, I researched everything I could in person, online, local at universities, and reading PubMed.gov. And I wanted to be able to learn how to maintain this fat loss and maintain my supreme health that I had discovered and rediscovered. And I was successful at doing that. And I had a box of notes under my bed. People started asking me for help. And with some new certifications under my belt, because I was an elementary and middle school teacher in the mid 80s, I discovered that I had value, not only for myself, but for my coworkers, friends, and family, in order to share with them what I had discovered. And then I created my own protocol. And at one point, after some interviews on radio shows locally, I was asked by my husband to get that box of notes out from under the bed. And I apologized, and I told him I'd stick it in the basement. He said, that's not what I'm talking about, honey. You have an obligation to help the world. I want you to take those notes and write a book. And I didn't even know how to type. I didn't have Facebook. I didn't have a website. I'm very not unsavvy as far as tech at that time. But I listened because he helps me every way and every day. And now I'm up to 4 books.
Awesome. Congratulations. That's so cool. That's so
Thank
cool.
you.
And so what else do you do besides being this a wonderful author? And I know that we were talking before we hit record that you go out into the community and you teach to groups locally. Tell us a little bit about that.
I have a really strong love for the San Francisco Public Library system because that's where I did most of my research and work. And I went to some of their health events and I found that they were not in alignment with my work. So I persevered, and one beautiful librarian allowed me to share my health and wellness protocol at a workshop. And once I held the workshop and mostly senior citizens showed up, the librarian said to me, "You are so in alignment with paleo, primal, ancestral, real food for healing than anybody that had ever come across the library." And then ever since then, it's been 3 years now. I've been booked at multiple libraries all over San Francisco. I teach everything from good fats versus bad fats with taste, fermented foods, and we make our own fermented vegetables and sauerkraut the old fashioned way, chocolate, the science, history, and health benefits of chocolates. I talk about wine. I talk about yogurts and kefir. I talk about grass-fed, wild-caught everything, the secret names for sugar and MSG in our foods, and how to decipher labels. In fact, I also do this in senior centers, in senior homes, and privately in people's homes wherever they have me. And all my workshops are free because it's time for me to give back.
That's wonderful. And I'm sure they want to go out and buy your book afterwards.
Well, I got the library to order 9 books, and then when my second book came out, they ordered 7, and the third book came out, they ordered 5, and now my new book's coming out tomorrow, and they're going to order a dozen because I'm in high demand, especially when I bring food and wine. How can you say no to that?
Well, that's so cool, man. And then I know you also work with people worldwide. If they want to Skype with you, you can sit down with them one on one and help them as well, right?
Yes, I am available to help anybody with any health issue that they have, health concern, or if they just want to feel better. Because I'm in my 50s, and at this point in my life, I want to be flexible, agile, and strong so that I can live long. I don't want to be like most of the community, how they feel about grandparents and great grandparents and the old vision and the old dogma of sitting in the rocking chair and looking out the window and knitting and needle pointing. I'm a hiker, I'm a jogger, I do hot yoga, I exercise anywhere between 5 to 7 days a week, and then I go waitress at night. So I want to be strong and agile for the future generations and also to save money worldwide on healthcare. When we take real food as our healing and as our prevention, we have the opportunity to have more energy to give to others so that when I have that to-do list that seems chaotic, I'm not resentful. I'm full of energy and it's exponential.
Wonderful. I love that your focus on on health and gaining health is more than just what size pants you're going to fit into or what you're going to look like on the scale. Your idea of health is the image of the rest of your life. I think, a lot of us don't put money away for retirement, or say like a lot of people don't prepare for living until be 120 years old, right? We kind of
Mhm.
think maybe we'll live to be 80, but from like 75 to 80 we're going to be like in a wheelchair. I mean, that's kind of the way a lot of people are going. At least that's their actions right now. If they're going to eat MSG, and if they're going to eat fried food, they're going to eat fast food, they're preparing their life to end up being not very healthy, not able to have that energy, not able to have that resilience or play with their grandkids. But we don't think that way. Just like if we spend all of our money now and don't sack some away for retirement, we're just spending it right now, being in the moment. But what we're creating is down the road, we're not going to be well off when we're at the age of retirement, right? So we have to think about the long term. We have to think about our health, what we're going to get in 20 years by eating organic today. What am I creating in 20 years? And you've set yourself up so that in your 90s you're still able to hike and jog and bike, and it's absolutely possible. There's a marathon runner in South Africa who's 95, and she was diagnosed with osteoporosis, and when she was, I think, in her 70s, and said, well, I'm going to beat that. And if she had just gone with the status quo, she'd be in a wheelchair or dead. But now she's running marathons, and I totally see you doing that because you're setting your health up with the vision. I'm taking care of my body now so that 20 years from now, 30 years from now, 40 years from now, I'm still healthy and full of energy and full of life. And that is a paradigm we need to help people shift, because I think people think that once we're seniors that we have to just be with walkers and wheelchairs, and that's not the case. We have to take
That's
care of our
not.
body now so that we don't need walkers and wheelchairs, right?
Absolutely. In my first book, I talk about anti-cancer healing therapies that are food-based that have been around for more than 100 years, but our government kind of slipped them under the tongue. And the foods that are in those anti-cancer food-based healing therapies are the same foods coincidentally that I was eating for fat loss and optimum health. And it's grain-free, sugar-free eating. Of course, it's an 80-20 rule in my life. I enjoy a little bit of sugar now and then. I enjoy a dessert or alcohol now and then, but I'm not going to allow it to rule my life, and I'm not going to beat myself up mentally or physically or emotionally when I do have a treat. I always say to my clients, a treat is not a cheat. It's all about the mindset.
I love that. A treat is not a cheat. That's
Mhm.
very cool.
It's really important for people to understand that the step one is your emotional and mental mindset. For me, I always have people write down their big why. Why do I want to be emotionally stable at this point in my life? Why do I want to change my lifestyle for the better? And I have them write it down in a journal and on little post-it sticky notes, and they put them all over their homes, and they repeat themselves every day. What is my big why? My big why is, and then they see it all over so that they're always reminded of it. I also have people write down I am statements. When you have an I am statement, it is a positive psychology statement saying, what do I want? Wanting is going to keep you wanting. So I write down 3 things every day in a notebook that as if I'm living those I am statements now. Yes, it's a desire, but if I write, I am healthy, fit, ripped, and pain free. I am earning $1 million by 12/31/17. I am connecting with my husband, family, and community in a loving, supporting way. I write these down multiple times a day. I repeat them aloud every day in the toilet, in the car, driving, changing uniforms at work. And when you say it enough, 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 I am, eventually you create new neural pathways in the brain, and then your life will have a new belief system. And then your new belief system will create actions that will actually model the lifestyle that you desire. But because you're saying I am, I call it living in the future present. And when I live in the future present, eventually I am going to create one of those statements to be absolutely true. And when it's true, I drop that statement and I add another one because I've already actualized it. And I can't tell you how many absolutely wonderful, beautiful things have come into my life since I started doing the I am statements.
Can you give us some examples?
One example is last October, I had a back problem that I was born with, but it just sort of inflamed. And one day I couldn't get up from yoga class. I literally had to have help to my car, and then I drove directly to the ER. And it took a month of work. I had to take a month of work off and do nothing but lay in the bed. I had to get help from my teenager son and my teenage daughter to use the restroom, to get up off the toilet. And I started to feel like a failure. Even though I'm this positive psychology person and I've been writing these things down, sort of, the negativity crept in. What good am I? How can I be a health coach when I'm here laying in bed for 30 days? I can't waitress. I'm not earning money. What value do I have? And then I reminded myself of the I am statements that I have to change one of them. And instead of saying I am healthy, fit, ripped, I added the words and pain free. And when I said that for 30 days, within 30 days, I was back in action and my doctor was shocked.
Very cool. I love it. I love it. And I love the psychology of saying I am, because it's so true. When we say I want this, I want that, it does create more wanting. It also creates a conflict inside because it almost like you resent your own life. Like, because I don't have what I want, and then this resentment kicks in, and maybe we start looking to blame others, or looking to get into that being at effect mode in life, being at the effect of life.
Hmm.
Whereas when you say I am, I have, and you're making, it's these future statements that you're stating in the now, then you're getting into the being at cause in your life
Yes.
and taking responsibility for and being at cause in your life. And there may be a gap, like I am running a marathon, you know. There might be this gap because right now I can run around the block, but I'm not running a marathon. And but saying I am a marathon runner, for example, right?
Yes.
um it, it allows me to see this image of myself strong and fit and capable and with endurance running a marathon. And then it sends all these biochemicals, these neurochemicals to all the cells in the body, and it sends a message. Our unconscious mind accepts it. Our reticular activating system, which is a part of the mind that goes out and looks for and helps filter information. So it seeks information to bring to the conscious mind. It stimulates the reticular activating system to begin to change how our brain perceives reality. So
Yes.
now I'm going to start to see people running. I'm going to start to see my jogging shoes like on the floor more often. I'm going to start to see opportunities to run. Or I'm going to start to notice that I'm able to maybe run more and more each day, because I am stating in the positive, and therefore I'm looking for evidence. The reticular activating system will look for evidence to prove your belief system. So if you continue to say that, you are then building up evidence inside yourself. And what I love about the unconscious mind is that it can't tell the difference between what's imagined and what's real. You could be in a movie theater and actually be afraid and have your heart rate increase and have adrenaline pump, but you're completely safe because you're imagining something scary. And so why don't we use that tool and imagine something that is going to help us get what we want in life?
Absolutely. In fact, I've done research in my second book, which talks about laughter therapy.
Mm.
When you laugh, even if it's a fake laugh, your body and your mind does not recognize the difference between a fake laugh and a real laugh. So I remember being in high school, and I would lie in a circle with my friends on the field after playing frisbee, and we'd each put our head on each other's belly in a circle. And one person would fake laugh and their head would bob up and down, and then you'd start laughing, and eventually everybody was creating true laughter. It was beautiful. And the endorphins release, the pleasure hormones, the chemicals in the brain are real, whether it's real laughter or fake laughter. And that works with all of the I am statements.
I heard that this is a few years ago that in China, in the parks in China, you know how you expect that, at 6 in the morning, there'd be a bunch of people doing Tai Chi in the parks in China. Well, they started to have laughing circles. So people would get together really early in the morning and they'd be like in their workout clothes and they'd all get in a circle and they just start fake laughing and doing laughing and breathing exercises. And by the end of it, they're all real laughing, and then they would talk about the benefits of laughter and how it's so healthy for us to laugh and such a great way to relieve stress. So I'm surprised it hasn't really caught on here. You'd think that there'd be whole groups of people laughing in the park every morning because it is so healthy to do that.
The first Tuesday of every month at my local West Portal library, there's a woman who's certified in laughter yoga, and she teaches laughter yoga. It's amazing.
Laughter
Yeah.
yoga, that is the best. I have to look this up. Do you like laugh and do poses? I think I just pee myself.
No, it's actually laughter is the yoga, and she
Okay.
teaches you different sorts of laughter, different sorts of expression with your laughter, the deep belly laugh, the short laugh. The laughter yoga changes when there's a toddler in the room. There's
Mm.
a whole science behind it that started in the 80s in India. So I'm glad it's moving on to America and China because then it's a worldwide exponential healer.
Wonderful. Well, tell her I want to have her on the show because laughter yoga, that sounds so cool. My son, he's like almost 2.5, shy a few months of 2.5, and he'll crack himself up. He talks gibberish. He'll just be like, car, blah blah blah, blue car over there, ha 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 ha, and he'll just start laughing at like when he's telling us about a blue car that's over there or an airplane he saw in the sky, and he'll just start laughing, and it's so funny. It then cracks us up, and it sounds like almost a fake laugh. Like he's like, "Ha ha! Look at the blue car! Ha ha ha!" And it is true. It's really contagious to hear even a fake laugh. That's so funny. Well,
Yes.
you have a plethora of knowledge around healing. I'm really curious though, in terms of the HCG diet. I've heard so many people who have gone on it and then gained more weight afterwards as a result of being on it. And so obviously that was like the liposuction. It was a band-aid. It wasn't, they weren't getting to the root cause, and helping to make those necessary shifts. How did you figure out what kind of changes needed to make in order to make the weight loss permanent and heal whatever was going on that needed to be healed?
Well, first of all, I think a lot of people in the United States and abroad are buying homeopathic HCG, which legally has no HCG in it. It's 1/10 of 1 millionth of 1% per vial. So it's a vial of water, with a dash of HCG in it. You have to use the injections and you have to get it from prescription. And when you do that, I also, myself, for 7 weeks, I researched everything that I could about the HCG protocol, including reading the original manuscript. And then I was strict. I drank a gallon of water a day, and I continue to drink a gallon of water a day. For me, the first step was water. Water, water, water. And that's the first step in my own personal protocol. My Eat Well, Be Well protocol is when you increase water in your diet slowly, to reach a gallon of water a day, and I'll put lemons or cucumbers or ginger slices in it. The point is, you can identify whether you're truly hungry or whether you're emotionally and socially hungry. And that
Mm.
was key for me. But first was the big why. If you have your big why set, then you're not going to go back on your promise to yourself. Most people are kinder and keep their promises to the person at the grocery store or their coworker than they are to their own selves and their own hearts. And I wanted to keep my promise to myself. So for me, it was water, increasing my water to a gallon a day. And the second step was identifying every ingredient in the foods I was eating. And this all happened before the HCG. I educated myself for 6 to 7 weeks ahead of time, so I knew exactly what I was getting into, because HCG is a hormone that is naturally found
Hmm.
in every human. And when a woman gets pregnant, it amplifies by millions. So this is how folks in Indonesia and Asia and India and Africa in third world countries are able to live on 500 to 700 calories a day. And it may not be the most nutritious, but somehow they're giving birth to 9 and 10 pound healthy babies and going to work in the fields the next day. How are they doing that? Because their body is liquefying the unnecessary fat and turning it into fuel for the baby, the fetus. So when you take the HCG hormone and you do it correctly with only eating a limited amount of green vegetables, increasing your water supply, and having the most healthful protein you can on the planet, you're re-educating yourself as how humans are supposed to eat in the ancient ways. No frankenfoods, no foods that are not found in nature, because our bodies are nature, and nature understands nature. So when I re-educated myself, I decided to do this long term, and there's a transition period. And phase 3 is where you slowly increase your calories and fat, but you still don't let any processed starchy carbohydrates in. And phase 4 is when you add in your fruits again and your carbohydrates, but in vegetable form or fruit form. And personally, for me, I rarely eat anything that is made from grains or processed refined sugar. I decided phase 3 was the way for me to go, which is eating a lot of wild caught fish, wild caught seafood, lots of organ meats from grass fed, raw, unpasteurized dairy, if, when I do eat dairy, and eggs that are pastured, which means if the chicken naturally doesn't really eat grains, chickens eat bugs, grass, plants, vegetables, fruits. They're not eating chicken feed in their natural habitat. So when I eat an animal, I'm eating what the animal ate.
Mhm.
And I kept processed foods out of my diet because all that junk creates an estrogen dominance in our body. And that's what makes us hold on to the fat. So for me, the key was re educating myself before the HCG. And then afterwards, eating high fat, good fat, lots of veggies. I didn't limit my fruit. My cravings for fruit went away. But when I do have a craving for fruit, I'll eat it.
I love that you're listening to your body. I think really listening and then and making sure, like you said, is this a craving for nutrition or is this a craving for, am I missing like some social interaction or some, am I missing a hug or some love? Is there, because a lot of times we just think we're hungry. I can't tell you how many times I've been thirsty and my wires are crossed and I think I'm hungry. I have a glass of water and and that feeling goes away. Or I've really 11 o'clock at night and I want to eat. And it's really I had to dive in and ask myself, am I really hungry? I already had dinner. Like, what's going on? And it was really underneath that was a sense of loneliness or emptiness or feeling like I'd been neglecting my emotions around connecting with people or getting enough hugs, that kind of thing, feeling connection and love. And so many times when we're missing out on in it, Joshua Rosenthal calls it primary foods. Everything in your life that nourishes you that isn't something you put in your mouth. So joy, relationships, career, spirituality, exercise, all those things that bring you fulfillment are your primary foods, and then secondary foods are anything that goes in your mouth. And it's so many times we're really missing out on certain primary foods and we look to secondary foods to gain fulfillment. And we can eat all the ice cream in the world, and that's not going to fill that void in our heart if what we really seek is a human connection.
And if you're eating that ice cream instead of the human connection, your body still isn't getting any of the nutrients that it needs to be a good machine.
Mm,
So therefore, you're still going to want something else after that ice cream. And that's where the problems with our hormones come in. That's what the problems with obesity comes in and all the diseases related to obesity. Once I lost the fat and got my hormones under control, all my aches and pains went away except for the one I was born with that was in my back.
mm.
It was amazing. And I'm always prowling for the next scientific breakthrough in any area of health. Right now, I'm teaching workshops on essential oils quite frequently and using essential oils on the body, ingesting them, and in the air to change your attitude about what's going on around you. And that changes everything.
Mhm. I love essential oils. It's such a powerful form of herbal medicine. Now, you said you have an eat well, be well protocol, and the first step was water, which I highly agree with, and no frankenfoods. Can you share the other steps?
Oh, yes, it's a 9 week or 9 month, however long you want each step to be. That's another thing is not feeling like this is adding to your drama of the daily to do list. I say take as little or as long as you want with each step. And it's Superior Self's Guide to Wellness from Within. And the book is Eat Well, Be Well, your 9 week solution for real health right now. So, step one is increasing your water. And it could take you a week, it could take you a month, it could take you 6 months just to get to that gallon of water. Step two is looking at gluten products and reducing or eliminating all gluten containing foods in your diet. Step three is all grains, reducing all grains from your diet. Now, remember, this is just for a limited time until you achieve that self control and discipline, which comes with time and self care and love. Step four is reducing fruits to 1 to 2 times a day because I can't grab a handful of cherries. I got to eat the whole bowl.
Mm,
And so when you give up the grains and the sugars, what are we going to swap them out for? My pizza becomes a cauliflower crust pizza. My bread may become a coconut or almond flour tortilla instead. So there are options that are grain free, and it's slowly to get you off that sugar craving wagon, which most of us have. And why are we hardwired to love sugar? In order to procreate and keep the species going. Our breasts produce food for generations. And so our breast milk is so, so, so sweet, sickening sweet. When I was nursing my children, I tasted, I'm like, that's disgusting. That's so sweet. That's sweeter than corn syrup. That's sweeter than plain sugar. So we're hardwired to love sugar in order to procreate and have our species continue. We're hardwired. So in order for us not to um, be, taken in by these companies that know that scientifically and they make foods that reach out to our hardwired desires, we have to step back little by little. And to gain true health and real health right now, this 9 steps will get you there so that when you do indulge, it is a treat, not a cheat. And you won't fall off the wagon into unhealthy eating once again.
Wonderful. I love it. I love your focus on no frankenfoods. For those who have never heard that terminology, can you share what a frankenfood is and why? Well, I mean, it sounds kind of obvious why we should avoid them, but please do share.
Okay, so an example of a edible fake food wannabe or a frankenfood. Let's look at Cheetos. It's nothing found in nature. The red hot, flaming hot, glow in the dark Doritos. That's not found in nature. Takis. How about Twinkies? How about Oreo cookies? Things like that, which we know are bad for us, but we're addicted to in our modern society. That's what I consider frankenfoods.
What I find funny is you'll see pictures on Facebook where someone has bought a McDonald's Big Mac or something and some kind of hamburger and put left it on their desk and then put like a regular hamburger, and a week later the regular hamburger is like really gross and moldy and fermenting, and the McDonald's hamburger looks like he just bought it. And I've seen those
Yes.
where 90 days later, a McDonald's hamburger, no mold will grow on the food you can buy at McDonald's. And other fast food places like Twinkies can survive a nuclear holocaust, and foods that won't ferment. So if mold doesn't want to eat it, you shouldn't.
Right. If a cockroach walks by it and doesn't eat it, then I don't want it.
Right, like ants avoid it. Nature abhors it. It kills mold. Just to survive, like just to sit there. But it really scares me when the meat doesn't decompose. And I also heard there was a type of ice cream. You could buy this ice cream bar, and this mom left it out in the car in the hot heat of the car. Came back out, saw the groceries she'd left in the heat, brought it back in and opened up, thought, oh, this ice cream's probably ruined, and she opened up the ice cream bar, and it was still had its same form even though it was hot.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, so it's like, what, there's lots of stuff, and I don't know if I've said this on the show, but in ice cream they put food grade antifreeze, and
Oh,
they don't have to list it in the ingredients because it's industry standard. So there's lots of ingredients that are actually, this kind of freaks me out because I'm such a food detective, and my husband's like, oh my god, are you gonna be an ingredient reader today? Because we very seldom will go in the aisles of a grocery store, right? We do our little round around the grocery store, and very seldom do I have to go into the aisles to get anything. But when I do, I started reading ingredients, and then my husband has to chase our 2-year-old around, and he's like, do you have to do this? I'm like, yes, I have to do this. But there's some ingredients that aren't listed, and we have to be a little bit more of a detective. And I'm sure you've done your research, because if it's considered industry standard, they don't have to say that it's an ingredient. And that drives me crazy, because I think if people knew that they put a food grade antifreeze in their ice cream, they would be making their own ice cream.
oh yeah, and I do, and I make it amazing. I use monk fruit, I use whole eggs, lots of butter, raw cream, and my kids are like, "Wow, this is fun and this is good." And oh, it's just so much fun to make it yourself. In fact, my daughter, Sage, ever since she was 9 years old, now she's 13. Right now, she's at a cooking camp, local sustainable farm to table cooking. And she is my co pilot, and she is the one that helps me with my workshops. And we do grain free, sugar free, hands on dessert workshops. And it's amazing how you can make your own chocolate, make your own truffles, make your own ice cream, make your own bark, stuff strawberries with homemade whipped cream, and drizzle handmade caramel on it that has no sugar. It's amazing.
Wow, so cool.
You
So
don't have to
cool.
deprive yourself to eat well, and you don't have to deprive yourself to heal yourself.
I love it. I make a really delicious well, I put it in the freezer so and then take it out like 45 minutes later. But it's no sugar. I use a can of coconut, full fat coconut milk, 4 heaping tablespoons of raw organic cacao, um, about between half a teaspoon and a teaspoon of liquid stevia, just depending on how sweet you want it. A little dash of sugar, and then I do one no 2 heaping tablespoons of organic gelatin
Mhm.
from beef. But you know, people who are vegan can use another form of gelatin. I just like it because of the great. It has a lot of collagen in it, really healthy. And then I mix that together on medium heat till it's all blended with a few like 2 ounces of water, and and then I put it in a mold and put it in the freezer for about 45 minutes, and then take it out, and it is like a pudding thickness. Tastes just like a chocolate coconut ice cream,
Mm.
and there's no sugar, and it has lots of healthy fat and lots of healthy protein. And my son loves it, and my husband loves it. So it's
It's
my
a
little
win-win
recipe.
all around.
Yeah.
So step 5, after the reducing fruit to 1 to 2 times a day, step 5 is reducing 1 to 2 times a week the fruit in order to further the cravings and make them go away. Step 6 is important because it teaches us how to swap out the fats. Let's swap out the bad fats to good fats. You know, canola oil is not really canola oil. It's called rapeseed oil, and it's Canada's largest export to the world. And they didn't want the word rape about 50 years ago, 60 years ago. They didn't want the word rape in the biggest export. So they changed the word to canola oil to represent Canada's oil. But the heat, the temperature that they need to extract the oil from the rapeseed is a high temperature. And the spinning and the molecules changes the molecular structure, which turns it from a good fat to a not so good fat. So I teach people how to swap out vegetable oils, margarines, canola oil, overheated peanut oil into fats that are healthier for us, like extra virgin olive oil, like avocado oil, macadamia nut oil, and how about some butter, raw grass fed butter? So once you swap your oils, that's step 6. And then after that, indulging in beautiful, fabulous fats allows us to absorb the things that we eat alongside of the fats. It becomes more bioavailable to the body. So if I have a bunch of stir fried veggies and I lop on some olive oil, salt, pepper, butter, garlic, cumin, curry, spices, I'm making it extremely flavorful, but the fat makes it more desirable for folks to want to eat. And it also helps extract and bond the fat to the vitamins and minerals and the phytochemicals in those veggies. So it's very, very highly successful. People a lot of times can't give up the sugar cravings until they add those fats in.
I totally agree with you because when you're eating low fat, often there's more sugar. You're going to compensate, like the macro that people go for when they eat low fat is more carbs, and fat helps to regulate blood sugar. And once we increase our fat and we regulate blood sugar, then we can really gain control of those cravings. I love ghee. That's my favorite thing to cook with because I'm lactose intolerant, and so my favorite ghee. I'll put a link to it in the show notes, but it's called Eat Good Fat. Have you heard of it?
No, I like ancient organics, but now you got me online ordering it.
Yeah, yeah. This is my favorite one. Like I said, I'll share the link with you. It's on Amazon, and it's by far my favorite. And I've tried like all the different kinds of brands. And that one's just, and also it's a giant jar because I go through ghee pretty fast because I use it in all my cooking.
Yeah.
But absolutely, I love the idea of making sure that you're eating healthy fats. And a lot of people are really fat phobic. How do you, or eating fat? They're phobic. They still, are, it's on some level have that belief system that we kind of were pounded into us in the 80s, that eating fat causes fat. How do you help people to see the light?
First, I share with them, if you've been following the old dogma from the American Medical Association, the American Dietetic Association, and you've been on this 1,200 to 1,500 calorie eating lifestyle and you're low fat and everything's whole grain and heart healthy, and it's not working for you because you still gain weight. I mean, I was a marathoner. I started marathoning when I was 40 and I ran 16 marathons. And from 40 onwards, I still gained weight running marathons because I would make sure that I ended every marathon training run at the grocery store and I would be eating my low fat, heart healthy, whole wheat this, whole wheat that, Triscuit, crackers, wanting to refuel. But carbohydrates all turn into sugar. Everything that you eat that is plant matter turns into sugar as soon as it hits the bloodstream. So your body doesn't know the difference between a glass of orange juice, a Snickers bar, a spinach, or a cracker. So from heart healthy, you get fat. So I say to folks, hey, it hasn't been working for you so far, right? So let's let old dogma lie down with the old dogs and let's try something new. The worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to say, all right, I give up. I'm going back to my old ways because of my cravings. And the best thing that's going to happen is, oh my goodness, I feel better. I'm sleeping better. My systemic inflammation is down. KJ, I just went to the doctor and the blood markers match what you've been telling me. So I have doctors coming to me asking me for guidance. And it's a brilliant, brilliant, beautiful thing because I am not a medical physician. I am not in the medical field. I am in the healing arts, but I do my scientific research.
Mm-hmm. I love it. When I was 19, I gained so much weight while I was so active. I was really passionate about martial arts, and I belonged to three dojos depending on where I was. Like on the weekends, I'd be visiting my boyfriend 2 hours away from where I studied at college, and or when I was at home. So I had three different dojos that were all kind of associated with each other. And I would like between 3 and 5 times a week, I would be working out. And these martial art workouts aren't like a little 45-minute spin class. I mean, they're like 2 to 3 hours of sometimes 2 to 3 hours of like just depending on how many martial arts we wanted to study, because we did jujitsu and also Okinawan Goju karate, and then sometimes we would do a few other different styles. And so it would just sometimes be a 3 hour, it could be a 90-minute class, but it was like you were dragging yourself to your car at the end because you had left everything in the dojo. And I loved it. I was so on fire about it. And then I was following them to Subway because, and I had been almost like grain free my whole childhood because my mom was a health nut. And then I thought, well, these guys are all fit. They're all black belts. I'm going to eat just like them. And so we ordered big Subway sandwiches filled with processed meat and cheese, or we'd go to the Vietnamese pho and we'd eat giant bowls of rice noodle, soups. And so I started just eating lots and lots of bread because that's how all the other martial artists I was hanging out with were doing. And I gained so much weight and my blood sugar was out of control. And that's when my diabetes started while I was working out so
Mhm.
much. And I thought that my body turned on me and was against me. And through most of my 20s, I was just struggling with the emotions of feeling like I was a victim of my body, like my body was against me. It didn't make any sense. Why didn't this make sense? I ate low fat, ate lots of healthy whole grains, lots of wheat. Why is my body against me? And why I do all this exercise. And so because I was following that what the, American, heart association said was for good health, and what, like at the time I was living in Canada, what the Canadian food guidelines were for healthy eating. I was following that to a T, and yet my health was getting worse and worse. I started getting chronic infections. It just went completely downhill while I was following that standard American diet, but doing it in the way that they said was the healthiest. So I've been there. I know exactly what you mean about we need to leave that old dogma behind, because the second I gave all that up for a whole foods diet filled with vegetables and almost no grains, my health just began to turn around. It was miraculous.
I often say to people, and they laugh at me, yes, I am a victim and I am born in the era of the food pyramid. But following the food pyramid has led us to look like the food pyramid.
That's so true.
So,
Oh.
step 7 in my program, and this is just a week, no more added sugar in any form. No honey, agave, or date sugar. Now, agave, I have a bone to pick with agave because it comes from nature. It's cactus. But during the processing, it makes it even higher on the glycemic index than sugar. So it's a highly processed food. So I try and guide people to stay away from that during step 7. And even sugar substitutes are sweet, but the chemical sugar substitutes trick your brain into making you crave more sweets, just like sweets make you want to have more sweets.
Hmm.
Then in step 8, I encourage people to purchase raw dairy and pastured eggs and wild caught meat and wild caught fish and pastured chickens if you regularly consume them. So I say go for raw, and if you eat that, if you don't have a dairy intolerance as you have. A lot of people, when they turn vegan or vegetarian, unfortunately, they still crave the meats and the cheeses and the fish. So they start to buy things at health food stores, which are the vegan and gluten-free and so-called healthy substitutes. But if you look closely at those food ingredient lists, there's still edible food wannabes.
Hmm. It's still processed food. It doesn't matter where you bought it. If you bought it from a health food store, it's still processed food. They still have to add like 50 ingredients. Like once in a blue moon, I mean like once in a blue moon, I'll have a gluten-free pizza with this delightful fake cheese, and it's not made from soy, which is great. But because I'm also soy free, but it is like 50 ingredients long and it gives me heartburn. So I really only do it when I like once or twice a year. And it tastes just, to me it tastes just like cheese and just like pizza, which is great. But I look at it and I go, man, this is like 50 ingredients they had to pull together to make some kind of fake cheese. And it's the only thing on the planet that gives me heartburn. So my body's like rejecting it. These fake substitutes. And then you look at like tofurkey or whatever around. I feel like it's a swear word, tofurkey, but it's the tofu turkey, and I could not believe it. I was one of my friends who I gave some health advice to, and she decided to go vegan, and I kind of encouraged her to look at a more whole foods diet. And then she was posting that she had made a tofurkey for her and her boyfriend. I'm thinking to myself, like, you've been gluten free for how many years? There's gluten in that. Like there's so much gross stuff that they put in that to make it into I don't know, this like fake meatloaf kind of thing. So I don't know. I think maybe we need to give up our need for a turkey if we're vegan and just go for some wild caught mushrooms or something. I don't know.
Yeah, you can make your own cheese. I have friends that make their own cashew cheese, and it's
Yes.
amazing. So, cauliflower crust pizza is the way to go for me, and I make
Mm.
my own cashew cheese if I'm going it with a vegan palate, or if I have a friend over that's vegan. Tons of veggies, homemade pesto, and you can totally make your satiation there, and the palate will enjoy it as if you're having the dairy if you are sensitive to dairy. But the cauliflower crust pizza is just amazing.
Wow, that does sound delicious. Trader Joe's, if anyone has a Trader Joe's near them, they do have some great organic selections in the frozen section of my Trader Joe's. So I imagine it's in other Trader Joe's as well. It's like $2 and something cents, and it's cauliflowered rice, and it's frozen and it's organic. Now I've bought a whole organic cauliflower and done it a few times in the food processor. I've just decided that I'd rather buy it at Trader Joe's and keep it in our freezer because it's enough of a serving for one dinner for my husband and myself and my son. And I do it up just like a stir fried rice. And we sit there and we go, man, I like this better than rice. It actually has
Mhm.
flavor and I don't feel kind of jittery and weird, or like I'm not hungry 45 minutes later like I am when I eat stir fried rice. So I absolutely love cauliflower as that substitute.
Another thing you use for a substitute for cheese is nutritional yeast flakes, which is super high in protein and vitamin B12.
Right, I've done that back when I used to eat popcorn. I would put that on popcorn, and it tasted buttery and delicious.
Oh, yeah. So let me move on to the last step. Step 9 is giving up beans and legumes. And like I said, it's for as little or as long as you want. It's just to get your cravings and self discipline under control. And here's why: beans and legumes are high starch, and they should be soaked overnight at least, and then cooked to release that gaseous the property in the gas that it creates. So
Hmm.
the hard shell on the outside of grains and beans is called an endosperm, and that must be broken down in order to be absorbed by your body. So if you go out in nature and pick a bean and then dry it, and then you try and eat that bean, you're going to crack a tooth. So that hard endosperm is meant to protect it and so that it can procreate and have baby beans. So when you're eating it, what you're doing is you're creating this internal fight with your body that endosperm is going to protect itself, and that's what causes digestive issues with people sometimes when they eat beans and legumes. And this is, again, people say that beans, and this was the agricultural industry, beans are very high in protein. Well, actually, if you break it down, most bean and lentil products are only about 30% protein, and the rest is starch. And then we take a look at how much of that is bioavailable to the body, which means how much can be absorbed.
Hmm.
Only about 50% of that 30% can be absorbed by the body. And if you add ghee or high fats, then more can be absorbed. But for me, that is a treat and not a cheat. So I don't deny myself lentil soup in the winter once in a while with tons of other vegetables and lots of fat. I don't deny myself the non GMO organic popcorn when I have that craving 4 times a year. But I'm going to add my ghee and my nutritional yeast flakes and my curry powder. So I know it has an endosperm. But if I'm living super high quality fuel and I'm sleeping well and I'm exercising some form daily and I'm getting out into nature, providing myself with Shinrin Yoku, silence in nature, and I'm doing all these other things that are in place, then I can indulge in these other things without it having a detrimental effect. What you do 80% of the time in your life shows up 100% of the time in your life.
That's very cool. And in terms of your Eat Well, Be Well protocol, do you have anything that you say is a must or you add? Because you're doing a lot of taking away. What do you add?
I add journaling. I add silence. I teach people how to meditate 2 minutes a day and journaling. Every step of the way, they need to journal. How do I feel when I eat this? What emotions going through me? What am I missing? What am I craving? Am I getting antsy? Am I losing money? Am I saving money? Are my friends and family acting different towards me now that I have shifted? What am I craving now? Why? My mood swings, are they still there or have they disappeared? What are other people noticing about me? So it's the big why, the journaling, getting in nature, which is called Shinrin-yoku in Japan, forest bathing. It changes everything. I hike at least once or twice a week, and it changes everything to be out in nature and give ourselves the opportunity to be one with nature because we are nature.
That is very powerful. I think a lot of people would, if they slowed down like you want them to, even for a few minutes a day, it would help them relieve so much stress and gain so much clarity and in their life. We're so caught up in rush, 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 And I think a lot of people feel guilty when they take me time, when they take time out just for them to relax and rejuvenate. And we have to remember that it's not lazy to sit there and be in silence, is not being lazy. You're being very productive by doing nothing, because you're allowing your mind to finally speak to you, your heart to finally speak to you, and for you to finally listen, to listen to your spirit, and to finally connect. Like you said, we come from nature. I think a lot of us have lost that feeling. I feel like a lot of people live as though we're separate, but we are nature, and we need to come back to it and bathe in the sun and put our feet and our toes in the grass, and come back to it.
I think what is justice? Justice is not us and them in justice in a legal sense, and in a nature sense, it's not us and them. It's justice is just us. There's only us. All of us. We're all interconnected beings. We're all interconnected spirits. We're all interconnected energy. And when I fuel myself with the silence, with the meditation, with being in nature, with fueling my body in the right way so that I can be more energetic and give towards others, then I'm putting everything in balance and reconnecting at the very primal food way that you discussed earlier. That's part of the primal food is my connection.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm not going to be resentful. I'm not going to cuss at people when they run a red light and almost hit me. I'll be like, okay, God just blessed you with another 30 seconds of your life.
Now, I'm really curious about the HCG diet that you went through, because obviously not only did you lose the weight successfully, you kept it off, you did the deep work, as you say, and you transformed your life. And through all the research, I love that you say you took several weeks before doing the HCG diet to prepare your body and
Yes.
make sure that your habits were in alignment. Because I kind of see this tendency for people to jump into the HCG diet because it's that quick fix, and or they're so sick of, they just got so emotionally sick of where they are, and also with all the failed diets and the yo-yoing, that they jump into HCG because they just want it to be over with. But that would be the same as going for liposuction, because if we don't do the deep work beforehand, during, and after, then it's just going to come right back with a vengeance. How do you help people to prepare for the HCG diet, or what would you recommend people do before they jump into the HCG diet in order to really make sure that this isn't going to be a band-aid?
Well, the HCG diet is not meant to be a yo-yo diet. It's meant to be a permanent lifestyle change. I think that all diets are eating lifestyles. So if I want my eating lifestyle to be a permanent change, it's to re-educate how we're supposed to eat. So first I have my folks do the big why. Then I have them eat in phase 3 style for 3 to 4 weeks before starting the HCG. So slowly tapering down all processed foods, all breads, rice, and pasta, and increasing their water slowly to a gallon a day so that by the time they start the HCG protocol and they're forced to load on days 1 and 2 with the prescribed injections, they're so sick of the processed foods that they're forced to eat for 2 days, because you're supposed to pig out. You're supposed to eat as much processed, junky, fatty foods that you ever think you're going to miss in your life. You must load for 2 days to show the HCG where the fat is stored in your body. So then it goes through the body, and when you do the reduced calorie and the reduced food, it's using that body fat as fuel. And that's how you lose the weight so quickly. So I taper down so that people know what their permanent lifestyle is going to be, so that when they do the fat loading on the first 2 days, they're thoroughly disgusted and they never want to have McDonald's and Taco Bell and Krispy Kremes again.
Wow. Has anyone ever done that? Gone in the phase 3 and then just said, you know what, I don't even want to do. I'm just going to keep eating this way because I'm getting results and I'm feeling really good and it's coming off me slowly. Has anyone ever said that to you?
Oh yeah, because I don't just coach on HCG. I coach in meditation, personal training, and I coach on my 9-week solution for real health right now. And when folks sometimes they're done with 3 weeks of the real health right now, and they're like, "I'm just gonna continue on with your 9-week program instead." And I tell them, "It's gonna be slow, but it's also gonna be permanent." And, you have an option, a fast way or a slow way.
I love
There's
it.
always options, but the option is not giving up on yourself. The option is learning how to meditate. I tried to meditate 15 years, Ashley, and I was unsuccessful because I could not get the monkey off my back. I could not get the chaos and the to-do list, and I'd be staring at the wall or the ceiling or the Buddha or the flame, and I'd be like, I wonder if I should paint my nails. Things like that. So then I take hot yoga, Bikram hot yoga. At the end of Bikram hot yoga one day, because we lie there, and at the end you do a 2-minute lie down called a savasana, the final one. And all of a sudden, I saw my kindergarten numbers, the big wall tape that shows you how to write numbers. And all of a sudden, in my mind's eye, I saw 1, 1, 1. Then I saw 2 floating by like a Sesame Street show. 3, 3. And it was stretched out like taffy. And I did 1 to 10. I continue with it because that's what came up. And when I got to 10, I didn't go 10 back to 1. I did 10, then 9, then 8. So I did it slow in my mind. And I did it only 2 times. And when I was done, 1 to 10, back to 1, up to 10, back to 1. It reminded me of an infinity circle on its side, that long stretched out 8 infinity. And that was a 2-minute meditation when I got up from the floor. Because if I would let a thought come in during those 2 minutes, I was like, oh yeah, what number am I on now? Go away, I can't talk to you right now. That thought went away. What number am I on now? And just focusing on those digits gave me a vacation from the rest of my life. And that's how I learned how to meditate accidentally a couple years ago. And I do it before work in the car, just 2 minutes. And sometimes I stretch them out, sometimes a little bit longer, and that taffy becomes 3 minutes, and sometimes 4 minutes. But I always say to people, do 1 to 10 and back to 1, then up to 10 and back to 1, and you're done. You will be surprised how focusing on the digits will help you learn how to meditate and give yourself a bit of freedom that you've never experienced before.
Wonderful. And do you recommend they do deep breathing or just regular breathing while they're doing this?
Regular breathing, because you'll find yourself breathing slowly eventually as you're stretching out the digits or repeating them slowly in your head.
Excellent. Now, I
It's
want to
natural.
I want to make sure that our listeners know about your website because I think it's just fun to read all your accomplishments, all your certifications. One thing we didn't even get to talk about is that you're a member of Weston A. Price Foundation. I'd love to have you back on the show. You have so much more to share. It'd be really cool to have you back on. And your website, which also has information on how people can work with you. I think that's really important. And it's going to be in the show notes of today's podcast, along with the links to your books as well. And your website is Superior Self with kjlandis.com. That again is going to be in the show notes of today's podcast. When people go to your website, what should they definitely check out?
They have to check out the recipes, the free healthy meal ideas. And the reason being that I don't write recipes. My daughter Sage and I are working on a recipe book right now. It's an intergenerational family cookbook, and it's called Make Food, Not War. And in parentheses, it's with your children. So on my healthy meals, I throw food together. I cook like that, and I take photographs of it, and then I put what's in it because I want people to be creative. Now, in the cookbook we're developing, my daughter is in charge of recipe development because she's very precise with measuring. And she's like, you can't just throw that in there, Mom. We're making a cookbook. I'm like, okay, let me back up a few steps. But on my website, I show people how you can make meals in 30 minutes or less quite easily.
Oh, very cool. I know I'm just like you. I just throw stuff in there and it's painful to follow exact measurement recipes, but when I want to achieve like my chocolate pudding, when I want to achieve the right consistency, I have to measure, but everything else in my kitchen is just a dash of this, a pinch of that, a handful of this. And that's how I love to cook. But I love reading recipes because it gives me an idea of foods I can combine together. Like I've never thought of cashew, making the cashew cheese until I heard of it
Mhm.
one day, and it is amazing. It's so delicious. So I totally recommend it. Well, it's been such a pleasure having you on the show, and you also have a blog that people can check out as well.
Yes. And
And
YouTube videos. I do inspirational and motivational YouTube videos every week, 2 minutes, because I know people have a short attention span.
yes, we do. And you are so, so beautiful. The pictures on your website, you must be looking 20 years younger than you are. You're so gorgeous.
Oh gosh, thank you.
Well, I love the work you do. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I'd love for you to leave the listeners with some homework. Besides everything that you shared, the Eat Well, Be Well protocol, and I think that is excellent, especially the drink more water is step one. What homework would you like to leave our listeners with?
I would like the beautiful community of listeners to know that you are stronger than you ever thought possible, that you are humbly blessed by God, and you are uplifted by your brothers and sisters around the world, as well as every creature, plant, or human, or alien, because we are all connected. And you deserve everything good and right in the world. And I want you to feel blessed because you are bright and beautiful beings.
Beautiful, wonderful. Listeners, please check out Superior Self with kjlandis.com, and the link to that's in the show notes of today's podcast. It's been wonderful having you on the show, KJ. Definitely want to have you back.
Thank you. Have a beautiful day. Thank you, listeners.
Enjoy what you heard today on your episode of the Learn True Health podcast. Did something move you, inspire you? Did you get great information that's going to change your life? Awesome. That's exactly what I'm here to do, is to help you gain your health back. Please turn around and share this. If this is something that's helped you in any way, share this with those you love. Love the Learn True Health podcast and want to support us? Awesome. You can go to takeyoursupplements.com and you can support us that way. You'll get access to amazing supplements that are just really great quality for a great price. And there'll be someone on the other end of the line to help you pick out your supplements that are right for you. That's takeyoursupplements.com. Or join our membership, learntruehealth.com/join. That's another great way to support our podcast, support our movement, and you'll be supporting yourself. Gain more information, wonderful videos, wonderful trainings, and you'll also be able to share those with those you love as well. So go to learntruehealth.com/join. Want something fun for free? Go to learntruehealth.com, and right there on the front page, you'll see where you can get our free cookbook. I spent a lot of time making it, and it was so much fun. It's really delicious, healthy recipes. And you can also get our 7-day doctor course. Right there, it's 7 days of naturopathic videos sent right to your inbox, and you can learn from top naturopaths on how to gain health naturally. So that's takeyoursupplements.com for wonderful supplements. learntruehealth.com/join to join our awesome membership, which is only open for a limited time. You can get our free healthy cookbook, and you can also get for free 7 days of wonderful naturopathic videos sent to you. Just go to learntruehealth.com and you'll see it right there on the front page. Thank you so much for being a listener, and thank you for sharing and helping others. Let's spread this information and turn this ripple into a tidal wave.